your podcast app. You'll see there's a discourse happening. Is this book a masterpiece or problematic? One's a lifelong diehard fan, the other's a first-time reader. Both are really smart and funny and attractive. Sweet Valley, Sweet Valley, talking trends and hierarchy. Sweet Valley, Sweet Valley, relentless focus on their bodies. Sweet Valley, Sweet Valley, what do they mean by all American? Sweet Valley, Sweet Valley, no sex, just titillation.
I want to share a thought.
That's what oftentimes speaking turns out to be.
And thoughts, of course, are events, neutral events that occur.
No judgment from me.
How are you other than handsome?
Oh God, other than handsome.
And I also have a side question, which is, how many times a week does someone tell you that you're handsome? I'm just curious, on average. I'm sure it differs according to the seasons, according to whatever, but like on average, over a lifetime, what are we talking?
Overall
Or over the
lifetime?
Okay, no, over the past 5
You know
years.
my record
10
keeping
years.
isn't that good. Wait, over the past 10 years, how often
Sorry.
someone...
In the past couple of years, 5 years, whatever, on average, I'm not going to hold you to this, but like,
How many times a week?
gun
does
to your head,
someone-
which is a scenario that could happen. Someone puts a
Yeah.
gun to your head and asks you to estimate this. And I'm bad at estimating numbers, but you're good at it, which is why you go on places like Jeopardy.
Yeah, famously an estimating numbers show.
It is.
I mean, the only time I had to estimate a number was my wager, and unfortunately, famously, I estimated incorrectly.
Is wagering not one of the fundamental?
I blew it. That's what I'm saying. I did badly at that. I mean, basically, every time I meet a new person,
Mm-hmm. Every time you see an old person again. So pretty much 100% of your encounters, that brings us to, right?
yeah.
It's either you're so handsome, I'm saying this for the first time, or oh my gosh, you're still so handsome and I almost
Yeah.
forgot it.
So often it's like you're more handsome than the last time I saw you. even.
Right, of course. Or how is it that you only are getting more handsome with age, et cetera? Of course, yes.
Which is honestly a really legitimate and fair question. I mean, it's like, how? Great.
Okay. Well, so that was my first question, which is how often. So we answered. The answer was 100% of the time, but we didn't. But still, on average, how many times a week?
Well, because it's also like
I
there are
guess
lots of
so.
social situations in which it is not appropriate for people to call me handsome. So tomorrow I'm going to meet a whole new crop of students. I think very few of them are going to say I'm handsome. Not zero. At least one of them will likely say like, "Oh, you're much more handsome than I expect for a professor to be."
Well, the question is, how can we build in the sort of back channel in these situations where the medium is a broadcast situation where it's one to many? For example, when you're teaching, when you're instructing students, etc., you're often speaking to groups because of your power and status in the organizations in which you circulate, both professional and personal. You're often seen as a leader, etc.,
Of course.
in a position of leading others and teaching and so forth. And so there are many people that are then having the impulse and desire to be communicating, you're so handsome,
Sure.
and not necessarily having an appropriate channel or obvious clear pathway to that. And it's almost like if this were a product situation, I'd say we have to build in like literally a feature that allows them to do that because it's like a big user need. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like we need to be worried about those people, and like someone should tell the president. It's not gonna be me. It's not gonna be me. I'm not talking to him. Nope, I have him blocked.
Okay.
I think President Trump is cool and she'll let me in the United States 2 weeks from now when I'm traveling.
Wait, you're traveling 2 weeks from now? Of course, famously, bar mitzvah gate. Uninvited.
It's not a gate.
It's a
Oh,
gate
right.
for me. It's a huge gate for me.
Okay, for the listeners, in case for some reason I keep this in.
You should.
Um,
You should only keep in the part of me singing "You're Uninvited" by Alanis Morissette.
Robert is referring to the event of my nephew's bar mitzvah as bar mitzvah gate because Robert was not invited, which is pretty funny actually. Okay,
To
so
one of
that's how
us.
many. So that's how many times handsome. Fine.
Yeah.
And then the second question is, how are you?
I'm good. I'm okay. I was just thinking, like,
You just paused again. Sorry, but you did ask me to tell you.
I did tell you. Wait, is it when I shriek? Is that when it happens, do you think?
I don't know what.
I mean, I'm
I say this in
always
the
trying.
least, I say this in the least homophobic way possible, but you want to try not shrieking? Okay. I'm sorry, how are you?
I'm okay. Like the future is coming no matter what, and so I'm just going to relinquish myself to it, you know?
But how can I support you today?
I think a robust and hearty discussion of a text that I feel is in many ways a return to form and in other ways is actually bad,
Hmm.
would be helpful.
Hmm. So the book is Sweet Valley High, number 78, The Dating Game.
The dating game.
Do you have a 6-word review?
I have a 9-word one. A complex commentary on masculinity, or just another book? Question mark.
Yeah, I guess it depends how much credit you're giving it in the reading.
Yeah.
And I don't think I read it as generously as you did. I think I gave it less credit, maybe. Yeah, for me, it felt was so toxic. And I'll figure out a review, but basically, like, I hated this book.
Oh.
And when I was thinking about what can I take from it, for me, it's some very toxic and complicated dynamics that I'm actually is something I've observed playing out on Love Island.
Oh God.
And it's something that I haven't really seen anyone talk about specifically yet. So I'd be interested to like try to articulate it. It's just something I've been noticing on recent seasons. I've told you a bit before about how it's very toxic and there's a lot of gaslighting, and that's something that people do talk about a lot. But there's a particular aspect of it that I feel like is also reflected in this book, or maybe I'm just over determined with my reading. But anyhow, that's something I'll be interested to talk about. So maybe I can think of a 6-word review about that.
And just to be clear, any views or opinions that Dr. Rebecca Michal Pardo breaks here are copywritten and for the sole and express purpose of this podcast. So, like, you're about to say something insightful and potentially kind of culture changing, zeitgeist defining about Love Island and this text. And I just want to make sure everyone knows, like, that's yours. Stamp that. If they want to quote you, like, we should probably pre-buy statement tees with whatever your statement is, because we don't want to get, how somebody copyrighted Very Demure, Very Mindful before that person could make money off of it. We don't want that.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't know that. That's annoying.
The whole thing is, yeah.
Okay, so let me think. I don't know if you remember this, and I don't want to be in a position of being forced to make a supercut, but there's actually has been a couple of times where I have gently, with love and compassion, reminded you that it does distract me when you're singing when I'm trying to think of my 6-word review. Thank you so much for your compliance and cooperation. Okay, here's my whatever. I'm just taking a line from the text. How can he lie and sound so sincere? In some ways, this book is trying to be, and some of the characters in this book are trying to be having like a referendum on, are men actually trash or not? And that's playing out in some different ways. And it's like, it's actually, okay, let me just say, this book is actually fucking crazy and disgusting and insane and makes my head explode. And here's why. The cliffhanger for this book was there's football player Scott Trost. We've seen him peripherally before. He is known to be a quote unquote chauvinist. And there's a question mark of like, is it quote unquote just an act? And is that not who he really is? And we're kind of being introduced to, okay. And we talked a little bit of like, is this going to be we've seen, I think, a trope of like a guy who behaves like an asshole and shitty towards women, but it's like belies his like secret sensitivity, trauma, vulnerability, etc. And like we should all feel bad for him and he should get the girl, etc. And that is extremely troubling and common in the culture and in these books. And so I feel like kind of knew that was going to be this coming into it. And then it's like, yeah, that's the book. He acts like a dick. The girls he acts like a dick to do a scheme. And then in the end, it turns out that he's good or whatever. But it's like, why? The book is gaslighting us the way he gaslights them. He literally just, there's no nothing. He's a disgusting, calculating, manipulative liar who did a really gross thing to them. And there's no reason for it. And there's no rehabilitation or reckoning that he does or is forced to do. There's no answer. There's no misunderstanding. It's literally like, oh, they're going to prank him by revealing that he's an asshole. And in the end, She falls in love with him. Why? Not because like anything changed, because she just decided to love an asshole. That's the actual lesson. She's thinking, how can he seem so sincere and lie? And you're thinking, well, of course the explanation is going to be that like it has the way that should be reconciled, if it's going to be reconciled, is that like he wasn't lying. But no, the way it's actually reconciled is that he is actually such a good liar and that like that's okay. No, no. Like the happy ending is that she just decides to go be with him after he degraded these girls and humiliated them. He's disgusting. No, fuck this book forever. Like it should be torn up and ugh. I was going to say something like extremely more provocative than it needed to be, and I think it would be wise for me to take a step back. So I'm so reasonable. Anyway, that's my opinion.
Okay.
Am I wrong?
I don't
Tell
think
me I'm wrong.
I don't think I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. I believe women.
I didn't explain, by the way, the Love Island thing. I didn't explain that. I haven't explained that yet.
No, we're not into that. No.
Yeah.
I think we just had slightly different readings of this.
Okay.
And I don't want to be in a position where I have to defend Toad Trost because I do think he is a gross, not great guy. I do think there is a way to read this book as a commentary on what society expects of men or boys becoming men, boys Roman numeral 2 men, that I think could be a fruitful and interesting discussion because there is quite a bit of contrast between kind of the few glimpses we get into Scott's public persona, which are abhorrent and disgusting and gross and manipulative and evil, and the glimpses of his interiority and private persona that we get kind of vis-a-vis his dates with Jean, whose name we haven't mentioned once yet. Just calling you in about that. And in some ways, his interactions with Claire, and of course, what looms large for me, his interaction with the injured dog. And I think there's a way to read this text that centers more on the prison of masculinity and the ways that we are all implicated and victimized by the patriarchy, by toxic masculinity. And Scott himself, he too is limited, victimized, and shackled to a masculinity that he himself does not want, and that he is trying to shed, and yet at every turn, he lacks both the models for how to do so effectively, and he lacks some of the maturity and courage of his convictions to be the person that he wants to be.
Oh gosh, I'm getting like emotional right now. I'm just like gonna pause and observe my own reaction, which I'm not expecting. I'm getting like a little bit triggered or something.
Okay.
This is very interesting. I don't know why. I'm feeling very reacting about this. I'm just gonna take a couple of deep breaths. I completely hear what you're saying, and I agree with you. I agree with you that that is kind of all there. However, for me, the problem is that so I love the critique of masculinity. I love the showing that like he's also a victim of that and he's also trapped in it and he's in this double bind, and for us to have empathy for that. And I think that's so important, and I do have empathy for that. However, for me, the problem is that the book, if we compare it, for example, to Neil Fremont, right? Neil Fremont was doing racism, right? I'm not saying that he did as bad misogyny as Neil Fremont did racist abuse. However, the way Scott behaved to he publicly humiliated these women and like treated them in ways that were really, really degrading. And it's not that I don't want to get the sort of structured critical viewpoint. I do want that. However, there's no accountability or growth or learning for him or even acknowledging what he did. Like it's literally just, yeah, so because he's in this bind, his treatment of women is literally completely excused. And maybe I'm getting, I don't know why I'm having a reaction, but like, it's like his behavior is made completely okay. And it's like structure agency thing. We have to look at both. Yeah, Neil Fremont also had pressures on him from his family or whatever, and all these inputs that were setting him up to do racism. And he's also responsible for what he did. You were very critical that Tony Esteban wasn't held accountable for his cheating, for example, right? And it's like, yeah, like we have to look at, he had pressures on him and whatever, but it's like, I was like made sick from this. Like it's like, so because it's not only that there's no accountability for him, it's that he actually gets rewarded. Like he didn't have to get the girl in the end.
Right.
I would have loved to see a journey and maybe make it all from his perspective. Yeah, and show us these tensions and these struggles and his internal persona and his pressure from the locker room talk or whatever it is. Like, of course, toxic masculine culture puts all this bullshit pressure on men and punishes them for not complying, and it's also homophobic and everything else. But it feels like it's so much excusing it by putting it in the frame of making us think there was like a misunderstanding when there wasn't. Like the structure of the book, what's going on here, and the letters, and he's trying to talk to them, but he doesn't get a chance to explain. You're thinking something's going to happen to like give some more explanation to why he behaved in this way, where it was like he initiated it. For the listeners, he sent two girls an identical letter in their lockers professing his love for them and like asking them out. And then when they are like, why did you do that? He's like, so you should make a contest about it. And like, you should both compete for me. And like, you're not allowed to eat popcorn and you have to eat popcorn. He does this in front of the whole class. And like, I'm assigning you points and here's my matrix. And they're planning to, the whole plan that they have to like, quote unquote, embarrass him or whatever makes no sense. It's that like when he finally chooses one, they're both going to reject it. It's fucking stupid. But just like, given that, right? So in the meantime, she falls in love with him, but it's like, he's still being like abusive to her in public. That's not the story we're used to. That's not the rom-com. That's not how that structure should go. The way it should play out is something is revealed beyond just he knows he shouldn't behave that way. That's not good enough. Like that is not fucking good enough. Like it's saying you can be abusive to women, and as long as on the inside you're sad about it, you literally should be rewarded. What did he do to not rectify, but to try to make this whole in some way? Did he take one fucking step? Literally, what did he do? Usually we get like some declaration, some article in the Oracle. He did nothing. Nothing. He's disgusting. Sorry.
So I think I do have some thoughts. I'm really interested in your strong reaction. I think it's actually lots of it is very, very fascinating. I think part of what's really interesting about your strong reaction is that in some ways, both in this book and like obviously in society at large, like the language of understanding the patriarchy and the fact that the patriarchy and toxic masculinity is bad for men too has subsumed or taken some attention away from the actual primary victims of the patriarchy, who are women and non-men. And so I think some of the reaction that you were having was the kind of the way that my and the book's kind of analysis are like basically like, but think about the men, think about the boys, and like they're also in a prison. And it's like, yes, that is definitely true, and they are not the primary, main, most often or most damaged victims of this structure and system.
And that doesn't mean I don't want to hear the story about their prison just because they're not the primary victims. I do want to hear that story, but then don't make it that they're victimizing someone in it, or just acknowledge that. You know what I mean? Like it's not like I think that's not valid.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
No, I think it's interesting. I think it's and I don't know if this is going to bleed into your Love Island discussion or not, but I'm serious though, like as we as a society get better at understanding structural forces and we at the least purport to talk about issues in a more critical way, lots can get obscured or left out, as in this book, where we don't even really see the real hurt. Like, we don't even really see how the women are victimized because we're so focused on this kind of the antics of it, and then Jean falling for Scott in spite of everything that's going on. And so I do think that that's kind of why I was trying to say, like, is this a complex commentary on masculinity or is it just another book? Because I was trying to balance, it's hard to make sense of this book for a lot of the reasons that you said. Like, there's a lot of not enough of a payoff, not enough, no accountability. And I wonder if that kind of speaks to some of your more emotional reactions. Is like, this could just be another, if we just go with my analysis, this just becomes another forum where we talk about how masculinity hurts men and don't focus on the way that masculinity hurts women and people who are not men.
We still could have done that. Again, like I am very, very, very happy and interested in focusing on and learning about and getting more stories that show and help us change how masculinity hurts men. Like, it's not that I'm like, why are we talking about that and making it seem like women aren't the ones most, it's like, it's not, yes, let's talk about it. Let's focus on it. But if in the particular story we're talking about they're doing this type of harm to women, let's talk of that, of what it is. And both can be true.
And I want to be just very clear that no one was
hurt in the making of this book.
What do you say?
Hurt in the making of this book.
No, I think many people, it sounds like you were hurt in the making of this book. I was to say that no one is alleging that you want to silence men talking about the difficulties of masculinity. I
feel like that is what people are alleging, Robert.
I know, and that's why I want to get out ahead of it. I want to get out ahead of the allegations before they hit you, and more importantly, they hit the front page of the Oracle.
But what people are alleging, Monthly Magazine is having on the cover me putting a duct tape on men.
Yeah, but on the back, you know what's on the back of that magazine?
Me taking the duct tape off and having a big smile.
It's you taking the duct tape off and that huge smile. And the back tagline is, of course, guess what's got them so smiling?
If I may add just one layer onto something you mentioned, made me think of. And this still doesn't get to the thing of Love Island I want to talk about.
Oh, God.
When you mention, like, now that our discourses on toxic masculinity maybe are more complex or are more widespread, and some of that includes looking at harms done to men, and some of that also includes just that language being more widespread and like taken up, and there's good things about that, but there's also this, I think a sort of contemporary layer or to this dynamic has to do with like how abusive men weaponize like therapy language.
Yes.
To manipulate.
I think I was trying to say that when I was talking about how kind of therapy talk has gone more mainstream.
Yeah,
and that's what
that's made me think of that. Yeah. You want to get or the plot?
You didn't want to do your Love Island bombshell? I chose that word carefully.
Oh, I don't know. I've been saying a lot of stuff. I feel like I need to like maybe move on for a bit, and then it'll come up. I feel like.
Okay. And then can I just kind of check in on how you're feeling?
Good. Thank you for holding space.
Are you feeling good enough that there is space for me to point out something interesting about what you said?
Is it a flaw in my logic? Then no, I'm not feeling good enough. Is it something about how brilliant I am? Then yes, I guess I'm feeling okay for this.
It's neither, actually.
Oh, it's just neutral? Not interested.
Okay.
5 stars only.
Yeah. As you're talking about the way that Scott treats the women, there's this, I think, I might be wrong, but I think there's this interesting blending that you started talking about things that were actually happening in Jean's dream that didn't actually happen in real life.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
And there's a whole B plot in this text about dreams and dream interpretation.
Oh God, Robert, it would be so funny if the 20 minutes of crying and ranting I did was based on me being confused and like the stuff I was mad about not having had happen.
Wait, do you know or not know that that was the dream?
Like, I'm dying. I'm actually dying. What was the dream?
So,
Can you be specific?
yeah, I can be really, really specific, and it's going to be
The
pretty.
thing about the popcorn, about how much popcorn they were allowed to eat.
The thing about how much popcorn they're allowed to eat. The thing about having a notebook and keeping score.
Well, yeah, because that was the same date as the popcorn. Yeah, of course.
So
Okay.
all of that whole kind of that central. That
Fine,
was all
but him.
Jean's nightmare about what it would be like to be dating Scott while she's competing with Claire.
Fine. That's fine. I'm okay with that. That doesn't destabilize my whole situation and feelings because, like, the thing of him being in front of the crowd at school and being like, who will be the one? Because it goes even till the end where it's like, who will win? And then he chooses one. Because what you think is going to fucking happen. Okay, what should have happened is he gets up in front of this. Are you about to tell me it was a dream? Whatever.
No, that's not a dream. I'm just wondering, like, plot could be an interesting thing for our listeners to understand it all. But you keep going.
They'll figure it out. Like, they're smart. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, fill in the fucking blanks, people. We'll do it after, but like, I'm sure you're surviving. Okay. Like, what, you think they hung up because of that? No, they must understand. So, listen, let me speak for once in my life, Robert, for once.
Pulling the duct tape off.
Okay, well, we explained that he does a little contest for them, right? Compete for my love. He does a little Bachelor of Sweet Valley fucking high. And then at the end, and then throughout that, one of them is like the whole time maintaining that she's pissed and that they're gonna reject him at the end, whoever he chooses. And the other one's like kind of going along with that, but getting less pissed at him and being like, I actually love him because when they go on dates, she's like, he speaks nicely, actually, and not having all this bravado, etc. And then like they go to the day where he's like choosing one of them and a big crowd I think shows up and maybe that was a dream. I don't know. I think there's a big crowd and what you're thinking is going to happen and what bare minimum should happen is he gets up to the microphone and he's like, well, you all were here today thinking I was going to be choosing my one lady, and I had started that way too because I'm a very troubled man being made the victim by toxic masculinity. And I have a very big and strong and also successful in business older brother. But I have fallen in love with Jean, some call her Jeannie West. And by falling in love with her, I realized that I have actually been acting like a very rude, disgusting person. And I'm here to flagellate myself. And I'm putting myself in a, what's it called when you have like this? And your hands are in the holes.
Like a manacle or stocks? Are you in the stocks? The gallows?
What's gallows? Like a dungeon? Your hands is in the stocks. Mm-hmm. And the townspeople, and he says, you're all going to be the townspeople and my hands are in the stocks and you should come hit me with the stick or whatever. Because I deserve a spanking.
Naughty.
He probably likes it. Anyway.
So I thought.
Oh, but then he doesn't. He just still chooses her. And you're like, what? Fuck this. Sorry, go.
So just to give like and people understand the plot, I guess. Scott is courting two women at the same time. And instead of doing it privately and just going on separate dates, which most of Sweet Valley does periodically as they're choosing between boys or girls, he turns it into a public contest for everyone and says, at the end of the week, I will announce my pick. And we will go to this Love is in Bloom dance, which is we'll get into the dance, but there's stuff to talk about. And Claire and Jean are both in on it, and they're like, we're going to humiliate him. We're going to humiliate him. And the way they choose to humiliate him is they let him announce which girl he picks. And then Jean goes, I wouldn't go out with you if you were the last man on earth. And if you were the last man on earth, I'd demand a recount. Which I didn't totally get that line, but I was like, good for you.
There were a lot of lines. This book was trying. Trying it. There was a lot of lines and there was some wordplay and things were different. It's someone different got involved in this book.
She storms off. Claire, he goes, oh, well, Claire, since you now win by default. And she goes, everything that Jean said counts for me double. Screw you. And then she storms off. And then basically at the end of the book, he just comes to her house and they reconcile. What I expected to have happen was, and what would make sense if their goal was to humiliate him, was to let him get everyone's attention and say, I've made my decision, and have them go, stop, stop, stop. We don't care what your decision is. We've known from the beginning, and we've just been torturing you. You were terrible dates. You are not cool. No one likes you. We are reclaiming our power. Fuck you. We're going to the dance with whom we really want.
And you kiss like a jellyfish.
And you kiss, one of the cruelest things you could possibly say, you kiss like a jellyfish.
And that's on period.
And that is going to be discussed in our biology class again. We'll do jellyfish again.
But that's not what happened, is it, Robert?
No, and so that was what was kind of confusing, was that their whole plan was to embarrass him, but they never embarrass him. They just embarrass themselves.
Their plan makes no sense. Of all the deranged, non-planned plans we've seen in these books, like this one is actually outrageous. It's literally like, okay, so they get the identical letters, then they call him out on it, and he's like, yeah, so you're both going to compete for me. They're like, okay. And then the way they're going to quote unquote embarrass him is like continuing to date him, who they both supposedly hate. It's like spend a bunch of time with him. It's like, haha.
We're wasting his time.
It's like you're wasting your own time. How do you benefit from this? And then just like, it's so fucking stupid. And when you were just explaining this, you said like, you know, instead of just, he decides to date both of them, and instead of just doing that privately, he like makes this public contest, etc. And I say to this, yeah, because that's the point. The whole point is about control. And this is one of the ways it's like Love Island. It's about his relationship to other men. He did this stunt because other men, he was in this macho thing of, they're like, oh, you don't have a date. And he's like, I can get anyone I want. They're like, no, you can't. And he's like, yes, I can. Watch me. This is all to prove his masculinity to other men. It's not even about these girls. So that's also why he's a shitty person. Mm-hmm. And the fact that he literally stays equally shitty until the very, very end.
Yeah.
Even after Jean rejects him, to then be obnoxious to Claire about it. It's like, you're whatever.
I think so. There is this kind of, like you said, the performing for men. I mean, at some point, Scott knows and acknowledges that, and is like, I'm acting this way because I feel like I have to in front of these men. When I'm with you, I actually feel like I'm able to be my real self. And there is something about, like, there is something there, I think, about the ways that he is inhibited from living his full and complete life because of toxic masculinity. The other interesting thing that I did want to just very quickly point out was the way that so Scott introduces his competition. So Liz and Enid reacts kind of the way that one would expect, which is, especially now that Liz has kind of gone, you know, a little more modern in her sensibilities about women and their roles. And they're like, this is fucked. We don't compete for men. This is screwed up. I can't believe he's doing this. He is a gross guy. Jess has, I would say, a more interesting analysis, which is basically everything is competition. We live in a society that is fully based in competition. This is just making the competition that is implicit explicit. And I think that's a really interesting, that's not the main thrust of the book, but I do think the way that they say, look, we compete to get into PBA, we compete for boys, this is just making it real. I think that's very interesting, especially when kind of placed in conversation with Miss Teen Sweet Valley and the more recent explicit woman-on-woman competition we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
There is a central commentary that could be taken to point out, like, this is a microcosm of the patriarchy under which we all labor, and that's fucked.
It's like Liz is the structure side and Jess is the agency side. And Liz is like, sees everything as like top-down systemic society, and Jess is very much like individual meaning making and individual agency, and like that's what it means.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them, for the most part, see that as kind of zero-sum situation.
And neither pushes their analysis far. And I mean, obviously they're like characters in a teen soap opera series. neither pushes the analysis far enough to really make any grand claims. And I also think part of why I like this book, and I know that you don't, and I know that you want to. Part of why I like this book is that there's more ill-formed raw material than in lots of the more recent books. And so there's more, like, as I was reading, I was having more commentary and insight, not to brag, that the characters weren't. Whereas in the last many books, it's been like, yeah, all of the insight and the analysis is done there. Whereas this felt like kind of like a throwback in some ways to like a single digit book, where it's like, there's actually work for an outsider to do here to talk about, like, well, which is it? Are we all always in competition, or is this competition inherently flawed, or is it both? And what do we do about, like, Scott's public versus private persona? And what do we do about the fact that Gene really does seem to be falling for, quote unquote, the real him? Is there a central real him that exists separate from the him that behaves in these atrocious ways in public, etc.? Like, those questions aren't totally answered.
Yeah.
And so from the perspective of someone who hosts a podcast with her best friend to kind of talk through these books, I feel like this book gave us a little more to talk about. And maybe some of that is uncomfortable or unfun, and it may be quite activating, and for that, I'm sorry. But I also think there's, like, actual stuff here.
Yeah. I had a strong feeling when you were speaking earlier about the, like, how it talks about how he experiences and acknowledges the, like, private versus public, etc. And what just, like, sends me into a full rage about that is, like, yes, and why is that enough? It's like,
okay,
what other group of people besides, like, straight men, why is the bar so low?
Yeah.
Why is the bar literally zero accountability? It's literally just being, like, saying, okay, yeah, when someone tells you you're bad or whatever, being like, yeah, I know. Again, it's both and, right? Structure, agency. I completely am sympathetic to all the male loneliness epidemic and all the things men. It's hard to be a man, okay? Of course, patriarchy is hurting us all. And within wherever we are in that system, we are still human beings who have some basic accountability for our behavior. And the fucking fact that it's like he's sad about the fact that he's abusive is literally enough to make him sympathetic. No. Yeah. And, like, I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of it. And again, I've been watching a lot of Love Island. Okay. And it's, I think impacting. Okay. I think now is maybe the time for me to say the Love Island thing. One of the things I've noticed, like, the different countries have some different things about them and the dynamics and culture, and some of them have been on longer. They develop different norms. The norms change and so on. But one of the things I think I've noticed, maybe both on USA and UK, through the platform, it gets made very obvious the extent to which, as my 6-word review was, men can lie and sound so sincere. And just the extent to which, at least the group of men that are on this, are extremely fluent in emotionally abusive behavior and gaslighting and lying. And so the women who are there to date them are forced to find a way to deal with that. And what I'm starting to see over the years, a little bit of a change, is, like, now it's a lot more, they have a vocabulary around it. There's this sort of, like, feministy thing of, like, we don't stand for that. We are being treated well, and I have self-respect, and I wouldn't tolerate that on the outside, and I won't tolerate it here. And, like, I have boundaries, and you must respect me. And that's what that looks like, and whatever. And we're like, great. So the guys act completely the same, but then the girls have a conversation with them, and all the other girls would say to them before they go, they're like, okay, go pull him. They go, stand on business, girl. Stand on business. Remember to stand on business. All the girls are watching her to make sure she's going to be the one standing on business. She is going to be the one who's being a girl's girl, which is a very important thing to be on Love Island, which is especially reason you don't take shit from men. But she's also there to respect herself and be empowered and confident. And the way you be empowered and confident is to not take shit from men. Okay, so on this season of UK, this one guy kept gaslighting this girl over and over and over and over, and they would show video clips of what he was doing. He's like, completely deny it, et cetera, et cetera. So then what happens? She sits down with him and says, like, why'd you do that? Like, you lied to me. He's like, I did? Oh, well, that's not when I thought the word kiss means like I chew bubble gum or something. So yeah, like definitely won't happen again. Like, thank you so much for setting that boundary. Like, I would never want to make you even feel that way, girlina. And she's like, okay. And she goes back to the girl. She's like, I stood on business. And then he just like, he would always move the goalpost and pretend like he didn't understand her, or he'd pick something really specific. He'd be like, oh, I thought we meant like, he was just very slippery and it was extremely manipulative. And he was constantly contradict, like, and you would see he would laugh about it to other people. Like, it was completely intentional, like sociopath. Like, he got off on it. It escalates more and more and more over 56 episodes to where she's literally in the fucking fetal position, questioning her own sanity, being like, what's my name again? Who's the president? Like a shell of her actual self. And so I felt like that's what this dynamic was in this book, where it's like Jean feels like to be a woman who's going to like be respecting herself, quote unquote, she must engage in this performative thing with Claire. And like now the whole school knows about it and they're taking a stand and they won't take his shit. And that's why publicly, when he says you won, she rejects it. Mm-hmm. But she just does that. It's like the girls on Love Island. She's just doing it to stand up business in front of the crowd. But then secretly she's going back with him one-on-one. And it's like, so you're not standing on business. And what lesson am I learning here? What lesson are women learning? Just take him back. There's literally nothing he can do. There's nothing he can do and like nothing he needs to do to make it so that you shouldn't take him back. Like it's crazy. But that's what I thought was interesting about this, is that it actually also shows how she's having, like, it shows how men have negative pressure from masculinity, but it also shows how women who are taking men's shit and the men who are giving shit are just getting better at pretending they're not. It's just teaching people in abusive dynamics how to better fake it. It's like so scary, actually, and dark. Okay, sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay, the good news is we have a really fun reader of the month.
Well, sorry, is there any space for kind of additional commentary, or do you want to kind of what?
Oh, and we also need to do the B plot.
I thought maybe you'd talk more. I don't want to jump to the reader of the week. I think part of what I'm hearing and understanding is this book and society writ large feels like the end goal is for us to acknowledge that men have public pressures and private pressures, as if women don't also, as if all people don't. And so
that's not what I'm saying.
Well, it's part of it.
I'm saying that like it feels like this book, society writ large, Love Island, etc., is all showing that like there are no expectations for men, and there's no expectation of accountability. And that's my main point. That's my main point.
That was made excellent and very clear, and that was almost so clearly made as not to need to be discussed.
Repeated?
I was trying to pull other things out.
I'm worried it needs to be repeated.
Oh God. I will say, not to kind of steal your thunder and cultural analysis, but that does remind one of, and I know how you love when I talk about things that I don't know anything about. Is it the first Sex and the City movie where like Big doesn't show up at the altar? Or is that in the show?
Oh my God, Robert, I thought you literally never ask. You're touching my heart right now.
But I'm only doing it so I can keep talking. So if you could.
Because I was like holding myself back from all the Sex and the City references. Yeah, it's the first movie. Go ahead. Continue.
Okay. So I vividly remember seeing the first movie with my friends, and my friends being like, this is fun. This is great. And I kind of, as a proto-pardo, was like, I hate this. This teaches men and women that nothing is unforgivable. That like, people can behave in any way and you can still find the light in them. And
should be with them, not just find the light in them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that, yeah, and should take them back and allow them to continue to. And so I like had this very outsized reaction to this movie that I now barely even remember. But I do think you're right that we have so many cultural models for the idea that nothing is unforgivable and that anything can be accommodated into a relationship. And the way that that is accommodated is almost exclusively through women's self-denial of agency or getting what they deserve or establishing actual boundaries, etc.
We have to see the B plot.
The B plot I thought was really rich and bled in not only to the A plot, but also into Pardo's analysis of the text. The B plot is that Jess fancies herself, and the extent to which, to how real she fancies herself or not, but she kind of converts herself into Sweet Valley's answer to Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat. She is doing dream interpretation for the masses. And it's fascinating. And she does it to raise money, but then it just turns out to be something that she just does.
Right, because she's like having this dream that she's really into. It's like it's super funny. I feel like we could just say what happens, so we don't have to talk about it in the thing.
Okay.
Or like it starts out she has this dream. It's like this guy Jackson on a beach saving her from water or something. She's like, I'm in love, and it looked like Hawaii or something. And she's like obsessed with having this dream. She has it over and over again. She's like obsessed with moving to Hawaii. That's what she's trying to raise money for. So she starts like getting a million books on dreams from the library, being obsessed, like starting this business, but no one pays her, and she ends up losing money on the flyers, etc. And then in the end, she's like flipping through a magazine and realizes she just saw an ad for like a travel company to Hawaii, and it's a company called Jackson or something.
Jackson's clothing, and the model is the guy she's been picturing.
So.
But it's really interesting because it's like then everybody in Sweet Valley is telling her and therefore us their dreams. And then Jean is trying to get advice on what to do about Scott. And so she pretends to be having dreams so that Jess can give her advice under the guise of analyzing her dreams. And it's just really, it's like an interesting, I thought it was a kind of a rich and interesting kind of conversation.
And then there's a kind of C plot, I guess, which is Liz is very activated because Scott Trost says, like, I can get any girl I want. And then she also even is having a dream about that. And she's very triggered by this. And she decides to make a survey for the Oracle asking the two genders which characteristics they most value in a date. And her hypothesis is that men are looking only for beauty. And the results confirm her suspicions. And Todd says to her, well, wait a minute. Do you know that these people, if they filled them out potentially in a group, in which case their answers could be a performative, in which case men could be being under masculine pressure and trying to be saying they're more shallow than they are? How do you know they filled them out by themselves? Liz is like, I don't know. And then she gets a letter. And it's like, actually, I don't think that the results of the survey are correct. And I actually think that you missed a few points. Like, what about that social pressure? And I think people of both of the two and only genders are sometimes being shallow. And why don't you actually chew on that? And she's like, wow, what a good point. And then she writes a letter back saying, you're so smart. I wish you could be my boyfriend instead of Todd. But then she learns that actually is Todd because she recognizes his typewriter.
It's interesting. As I was reading it, I was like, oh, this book has a lot to say. I mean, it would be a great case. I actually texted the person who teaches research methods and survey design in my department.
Because, I thought a lot about it too.
Yeah, I mean, this book is a case study on bad survey design and bad kind of research methods. It's very interesting. We are an hour and a half into recording, and we have not done much of anything.
That's actually crazy. Okay, we gotta go super quick. You want to guess the taglines?
Okay, the front of the tagline, the book is called The Dating Game. Who will win Scott Trost's heart? Question mark.
No. Do you want a clue?
Yeah, always.
It's like a expression.
Let the games begin. Will the real Slim Shady please stand up? Love is in the air?
Closer. Oh my God. Love is in the air is what's on the back.
Ooh.
Dot, dot, dot.
Dot, dot, dot. Wait, the back is love is in the air?
Love,
dot, dot?
love apostrophe S, yeah.
No, I'm not.
No, I'm just telling. I'm just for your information.
That's useful information. Wow. Okay, so love's in the air. I actually like love is in the air. The front is similar to Love is in the Air or Love's in the Air.
It has one of those words in it.
Air? Love? Ladies love a bad boy.
It's a full expression. When I say full, I just mean like
You don't mean
I don't know what I
empty?
mean. What?
Sorry, Pardo is currently, of course, eating, I assume, a President's Choice chocolate chip cookie.
Do you remember what they're called? They have a special name.
They're not chocolate decadence cookies, are they?
Just decadent.
Wait, really?
You're amazing.
But I can't get the front full expression. It's a full expression. Love me, love my monkey.
You want to too?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I also want to move my life along, so.
No. Okay, this will give it away. Maybe.
It won't. It never does. Literally never has it.
It never does.
Do 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 do.
And then I do it 5 more times. Each time sounds different.
But each time is beautiful. Do do.
Do 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 do. That was good.
In love, 3's a crowd.
No, but you're closer than you've ever been.
All's fair in love? That doesn't go with the do though. Wait, what? All's fair in love and war?
Yes.
We
Do,
have
do,
to have
do,
had
do,
that
do.
on the
All's
front.
fair in love and war. Do 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 do.
Yeah, I think the
What?
other thing is that we say all's fair in love and war in, I think, different intonations. That's the point. We have to have had all's fair in love and war before.
How do you say it?
All's fair in love and war.
Do 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 do. That's
Okay,
literally
great.
what I did.
Beautifully done.
Okay, do you want to see the cover? And then
Always.
I'll read you the reader of the month. And this reader of the month understood the assignment. Okay.
Show me. Show me, show me, show me. Okay. We're back to square. We don't have circle covers.
It's literally so ugly. It's visually disgusting. I hate
it's
it. Her head is
everything
touching
about
the
this
letter
book.
G. Her head is actually touching the letter. Everything about it is wrong. I hate it.
Everything is, I mean, there's not a single good thing I could say about this.
Thank you.
Scott Trost is wearing a blue button down and a blazer. He is looking kind of over his shoulder at, I assume this is Jean West. She's very beautiful.
No, Jean is on the far left.
That's Claire?
Yeah, it doesn't look like her.
Oh, that's why. Okay. Doesn't really look like her.
But Jean looks more like Jean than, like, that's definitely Jean. Also look at their clothing, etc.
I gotta read these signs in a field. Scott, I was gonna say something dumb, but it's actually, I was just saying Scott looks like a 15-year-old boy trying to look older, which is who Scott is. So I think that's actually fine.
His blazer's kind of wild, though.
There's almost nothing to say about this. It's the 3 of them. They're giving a very classic love triangle.
Yep, the only thing I need to say is his shoulders. And I think they really needed us to understand that he is a quarterback. And I just want to talk about the distance. Okay, and I don't know if the blazer is oversized or has a sort of drop shoulder, but let's just say they made their point. Okay.
Hulking.
Reader of the month?
Hulking. Read to me
Ready
about
for
the
reader
month.
of the month?
Mm-hmm.
Robin Marie,
Yeah.
B.A. Insogno. I'm guessing it's pronounced. I don't know if you have a recommendation on this. Insogno.
Wait, sorry, I'm having a hard time understanding. Is Robin Marie her first? What's happening?
Robin Marie is one name, first name.
And it's hyphenated? It's all one word?
We can't even get into that yet because that's going to be a whole thing. I need you to just put a pin in the Robin Marie of it all so we can get to the. Okay. So there's Robin Marie, and then it looks like that there's 2 middle initials, B.A.
Okay, so B period, A period.
Correct.
Okay.
And then last name, Insogno.
Insomnia sounds great to me.
Insogno. Okay. And Robin Marie, Robert.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen such a spelling of such a name. Mm-hmm. We have one capital. It's all one word. Robben. Okay.
Mhm.
Marie.
Robin Marie. Oh my God. So when you Google Robin Marie,
She the only
Insomnia
one in
comes right
existence?
up because that's. Oh, she's now a licensed professional counselor in Lakewood, New Jersey. She's
That's cool.
beautiful.
That's great.
She's the director of the Center for Family Services.
Oh my God, maybe you guys could work together or something.
Continue. Sorry.
All right. Now, I don't know if I'm going to get the cadence of this correct.
It's hard.
Well, no, Robert, you haven't seen it, so you don't know.
If you're saying you don't know if you're going to get it correct, it must be hard because you are one of the foremost cadence intuitors that I've ever met. Your ear for cadence cannot be overstated.
Robert, I'm almost tearing up from how sweet that is. Okay,
And
are you
it's
ready?
true.
Are you ready for this essay?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a place where the romance is hot, where the parties never stop, where I can find so many gorgeous guys and identical twins with blue-green eyes.
Wait, is this rhyming?
Well, and there's the rub, okay? Because
sorry.
we start to identify a rhyming pattern, and then everything we know gets called into question. Then we think we figured it out. We kind of expand our understanding of the pattern, incorporating this sort of aberration, the sort of mutation, and we think, oh, okay, so it's A, B, C, whatever it is. And, by the end I was stumped. And that's why I don't know about my cadence. Where sports cars are fiery red, a Saturday night without a date is cause for dread.
Yeah, okay.
Still haven't guessed? I'll tell you on the sly. I'm talking about Sweet Valley High. It's so fun to read. It has all the dating tips you need. In the end, the good guys always win, with a little help from the Wakefield twins. If you're looking for fun, then come on, we'll go to the beach disco and hear the Joys play their newest song. Don't get hurt when Jessica decides to flirt with your guy, but Elizabeth's there, and on Jessica, she'll keep an eye.
Okay.
It's so much enjambment happening,
That's a hard one. That's hard.
Come along if you choose. This is Sweet Valley High. You've got nothing to lose. Thank you, Robin Marie B.A. and Sonia from New Jersey.
Beautiful work.
Wonderful.
I'm really proud of her.
Okay, well, we're past time here, so what are we going to do? Do you have anything you need to say?
Nope, nothing about this book.
Oh my God, literally me just screaming for an hour and a half. So what else is new?
So the inciting event of the text comes to us, of course, in The Engine That Drives a Boat. Jessica Wakefield talked animately as she ate her lunch. This is definitely going to be one of the biggest dances of the year, she said, her blue-green eyes sparkling with excitement. She looked from one friend to the next. Not only is the gym going to be absolutely covered in paper flowers, but the dance committee got permission to use candles on the patio tables. Sandy Bacon sighed. Love in bloom. I think that's a great theme for a spring dance. She gave herself a hug. And dancing by candlelight. Don't you think that's romantic? We're going to pause there. Couple of quick notes. One is, this is a level of excitement they want us to get. It's not even the biggest dance. It's one of the biggest dances of the year. Also, it's one of the biggest fire hazards of the year. Paper flowers and candles on the patio tables? Terrifying.
Also, I also had to read it a few times being like, Jess is having an outsized reaction to the fact of paper flowers. She's acting as if it's like freaking Diplo or something.
That is exactly how she's acting. I got the same thing. I was like, wait, is Diplo going to be there? What about Dead Mouse or, come on, Robert, get there faster. What about Paris Hilton, who does also DJing?
Meredith Marks, famous DJ.
No. No.
The only thing I have to say in chapter 1 is that Elizabeth says about Scott, he acts as if he's the best thing to happen to women since pantyhose.
Yeah, I thought that was a really bad line.
Well, it didn't necessarily age well. I think at the time it would have hit different. Jess is like, he's just confident. And Liz is like, no, he's an egotist. It's like, okay.
I made assiduous and careful notes of each of the dreams that we get told about in the text. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go through all of them because I thought there was going to be something. I thought I was going to be rich and there was going to be a tapestry. Jean dreams about turning up for a football game in her pajamas instead of her cheerleading outfit. I thought there's something there. There's something to be unprepared for the task to which you were called.
You know, it was a missed opportunity that they didn't have Scott have a dream. Then he could have said, "I dream of Jeannie."
That's good. Probably
They do,
copyright stuff
they
made
do
that
call her
difficult.
Jeannie. Hmm.
Todd keeps defending Scott, which is gross and probably the cause some alarm. We can keep moving. Liz does presage her own dream. It's as if he thinks we're not people at all. To hear Scott talk, you'd think there was a girl tree or something, and that all he had to do was just reach out and pick the one he wants. And then that is the dream that Liz has. Don't worry, I took assiduous notes of that as well. We get Scott's note to Jean. From the very beginning, there are some red flags. I've been trying to get up the courage to write you this letter for a long time. Sometimes when I pass you in the hall, I want to reach out and touch you. I want you to say, "Hey, Jean, look at me. I'm looking at you." That is terrifying. This romantic note starts with him being like, "I want to control your body and your gaze."
I don't have anything I need to say until.
Chapter 13.
Oh, wait, one really quick thing in chapter 4, just one line.
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens. This is children, the danger of prescriptive, of fascistic prescriptive grammar.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Claire is having a dream, and there's two boys, and she's not knowing which boy she should pass the ball. And Liz is saying, well, maybe it's something going on in real life, and maybe there's two boys that are wanting you to go to the dance with them. And she's like, well, actually, there are two boys who are showing interest in me. And then Danny Porter walks by, which is Claire's love interest in this book. Liz sees Claire give Danny a look that shows that she likes him. And then it says, Elizabeth hid a smile. She had a pretty good idea of to whom Claire was going to pass the ball. And she had a pretty good idea of to whom Claire was going to pass the ball. No one wants to say that, and no one wants to read that. And look at all the trouble they go to avoid saying she had a pretty good idea who Claire is going to pass the ball to. What do they think is going to happen if they dangle a preposition, Robert? What do they think is going to happen? And I think we've talked about this before, but it's actually incoherent as a grammatical rule. It's literally from like
Latin.
Greek or Latin or something, and it has nothing to do with the English language and just makes bad writing. So fuck Strunk and White to hell.
Mm-hmm. Although I don't know if Strunk and White were big into prepositions.
They were some of the biggest proponents of some of these big rules. Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I believe me, I've read the Elements of
Style. Oh no, that was one of their
tops.
Yeah, I know you've read Strunk and White, Robert. I know you've read Strunk and White. Don't worry, nobody here. Robert,
you were acting like you knew it.
Robert, look at me.
Were you acting like you knew it?
Robert, look at me.
Okay, you're being Scott Trost and you're controlling my gaze now. Great. I'll look at
Trost.
You. What did I say?
No one in this room is alleging that you have not read Strunk and White.
Who else is here?
All right, blah blah.
What I worry about most are my knees, Claire confided. I was like, oh God, to be a 16-year-old girl.
What? What does that mean?
Claire is worried about what to wear.
Wait, she says she's worried about her knees, but doesn't give any other details? Mm-hmm. That's so weird.
It's just sad.
All right, chapter 8, the thing that you love about how Jess says, well, we're just making what is already an existing competition explicit. And then blah, 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 blah. Okay, something really weird happens in chapter 12, where like Jess and those girls are supporting this competition, but then only when they learn of the fact that he sent Claire, that like it got initiated because he sent Claire and Jean those identical love letters, suddenly Jess and the rest of the girls are like, oh my gosh, what a creep. And I'm like, this is so arbitrary. They were so supportive of this humiliating dating competition he's doing, but then when he writes them letters, that's too far. Like, why? I don't get it. It makes no sense.
I will say that the identical letters reminds me of I'm on our master's admissions committee, and somebody had a letter of recommendation. I was like, this just seems like AI. Too over the top and kind of fake. And it seems like AI kind of wrote it. And they had two letters of recommendation. So I opened the second letter of recommendation, and it was the same letter signed by a different person. So they just had AI write letters of recommendation and then use the same letter of recommendation twice with two different people signing it. And I thought, that's like Scott Trost.
Well,
I like the
Um,
line, be cool,
yes.
Gene. This is not a person. This is an ego with feet.
They throw milk at him, then they figure it out. I laughed in chapter 13 when Jessica is like, are you and Todd by any chance not going to the dance? I thought maybe we could do something together. And Liz is like, that's so sweet. And Jess is like, well, I have to do something tonight, don't I? Since I don't have a date. And Liz is like, ugh, I should have known it wasn't because you wanted my company. And then Jess goes, it's not that, Liz. It's just that I don't know what people who don't go out do on Saturday nights. Are there special shows on television for them or something like that? And Liz goes, I'm sure there are sing-alongs. It's so funny. I love her.
Okay.
On page
I think
150, I wrote, fuck this, and then close the book.
I
And
think they
then,
do a nice job of like Jean feels authentically conflicted because she's having to kind of reconcile the the private moment she has with Scott with the horrific treatment in public. Um, and she like there's moments where she says Jean went through the motions of the rest of the day, but it was though her mind and her body belonged to separate people. There's this like dissociation and disorientation that makes so much sense from all of
I don't know
this.
if we said this, but he also, like, for the most of the time, like, ignores her in public. Like, he fully blanks her when they walk
Yeah.
by each other. Like, he sends her the love letter and then doesn't acknowledge her. It's so rude.
They're just there. Can I do one? I know that so I'm not excusing Scott
You
in
don't
any
have
way, shape, or
to, no,
form.
no. The
I,
things, like, let's do it. I don't want you to feel like you can't go into these parts because they
I
are
just
worth, go ahead.
there's some interesting kind of moments where when Jean is still able to make herself be mad at Scott, she's thinking like, well, Lila and Jess gave me all sorts of tips on how to get a guy's attention and keep a guy and how to win this competition. And their tips are like, just do whatever he wants, let him win at any competition, compromise for everything, don't worry about anything. And she's thinking to herself and she's like, well, it was true. If anyone knew how to impress a boy, it was them. Oh God, you're gonna hate this. Sorry. It was true. If anyone knew how to impress a boy, it was they. Part- Particularly Lila and Jessica. Therefore, because she didn't want to impress Scott, she would pay no attention to what they had said. Because she didn't care what Scott thought of her, she would go out of her way to make him miserable, which is, of course, how to lose a guy in 10 days. But she does all of this stuff. Like she makes him play miniature golf, even though she's been warned in advance that he's terrible at miniature golf and he's going to hate it. And he is terrible at miniature golf, but he's really sweet about it. And like he lets her coach him. And I mean, that's a gross way to say that. I mean, like, but he is mature in being able to accept the help of a woman, which every person should be, but we would expect him not to be. She insists on getting anchovy pizza and they compromise and get mushroom. And it's just like there are moments where I do see why Jean feels the way she does because it is he can be quite charming and quite sweet. And like they play Name That Tune. Famously, on his breakfast date with Claire, they come across an injured dog and he rushes the dog to the vet, missing his own Spanish quiz.
And that made me angry. I wrote save the cat because it's like, do you know this? Okay. It's a term like in the movie industry or whatever, where when they're writing characters, one of the ways that they have to quickly telegraph that like a character, they want you to be sympathetic to them. They have them do something very early on. The example is like saving a cat, but it could be something small, like it'll be like, oh, you see someone getting off a plane and they help the person in front of them with their
Mhm.
bag or whatever. Just some small, it could be a small thing, but just something to make you instantly on that person's side.
Mhm.
And it's like known to also be like a very easy way to immediately make anyone sympathetic. It's kind of cheap, actually, is what it
Yeah.
is. And so I
So
rolled my fucking eyes when we have to spend 20 minutes on him saving the dog. And I gotta say again, I don't even, because you brought up Sex and the City made me think of this. The thing with Carrie and Big and how he's continually so shitty to her.
mhm.
I don't know if you are aware of this, but part of the dynamic in the friendships is that Miranda in particular is always
Lesbian.
very, I'm sorry?
Lesbian.
Right. is always very much more wary and critical of Big and more suspicious and skeptical whenever they get back together. And she's more
Oh,
tough.
good.
She's more tough about it with Carrie. Like she calls her out on like what's changed and like you are being whatever and like look at what this does to you and like she whatever. She's more like taking that position.
Okay. Sounds like a
And
good
she
friend.
said, and I don't even remember if I think it was something with Big where like he did something shitty or something, but he said he was feeling sad or he was feeling scared or something like that. And Miranda's like, great. So we should give him a prize for correctly identifying an emotion. Like that's what women do all day. And
Agreed.
it's like,
Preach on it.
and it's just no, but it's literally that. We're literally applauding him, right? For just identifying feelings. And it's like women are having to bend over backwards, over analyzing everything and trying to sense make and communicate whatever.
That last word of defiance.
But it's like what Robin Wilson said, and yet here we are. Like
Yeah.
this is reality 40 fucking years later. Sorry, I gotta stop swearing so much.
No, you don't. You don't do anything you do. Oh, I did like that the fire that we are promised from the opening paragraph with the paper flowers and the candle does come like Pascal's fire situation when Jean and Scott are out on a date and she knocks over the candle. And he says, "What are you
Oh,
trying to do? Kill me?" And she
that's
goes,
interesting.
she thinks, "I'm not sure that's such a bad idea."
But
Um,
okay, sorry. Just this reminds me of the Love Island thing where it's like they're pretend in the doghouse. But it's all an act, right? It's like it's just completely performative of like where the girls do this thing where it's like I'm the girl who doesn't take shit. So like he treats her garbage. He lies. He goes to some other girl. Da 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 da. Like treats her like absolute shit. This happened also on with Tony and some guy she was with first, and like she's just like, well, I'm mad at you. And like, it's going to take more than that. Like, I'm not just going to forgive you right away. And so then they like are a little bit giving him a little huffing and puffing for like what, an hour. And then they just, for the other girls, show that like they didn't let him back in right away. And he had to really grovel and he had to really graft, as they say it. And he had to really like, it's like they're really making him work for it and showing it's like, it's completely, but it's just a script. That's why it's like, this is not like her being like, yeah, you should die or whatever. It's like, she's literally just saying a script that she feels like she should say to like pretend like she's fucking empowered or something. Ew.
so I have a
It's
couple
just
of
gross. It's grosser than I guess what bothers me is the lie of it all. It's like I wish you would just say the truth, which is you have no expectations of this man and he's allowed to treat you like garbage and like he's allowed to do whatever he wants and you're okay with that. And that's going to be the relationship. Instead of pretending like there's some, it's like this lie of like egalitarianism or this lie of like something. It's like, don't fucking piss on my leg.
Yeah. So I have a couple of thoughts. One is, um, I'm wondering if it might be a nice break if you maybe didn't watch as much Love Island. It just doesn't feel like it's kind of helping or making you feel
This is like when people tell
good.
me I should watch horror movies before bed because I would get so many nightmares. It's like, I don't know why you're saying that. It's like
It
weird.
doesn't make any sense. The other thing I will say is I can't speak to Love Island. I think there's probably a lot of everything you said, and I couldn't
Sorry.
agree with you more.
I need to stop
I
talking about
I will say for the book that we're actually reading,
it.
I think there is less of the performativity of being quote unquote like you're in the doghouse, I stand on business, and more of just like being a 16-year-old girl who's trying to negotiate and navigate these complicated feelings, where she's like, ugh, I do hate that he's dating me and Claire, but when he's with me, I do really like it. And what's happening? You're kind
No,
of
I'm just listening.
Sorry, listener, she is doubled over such that I cannot see her face, and it looks like she's either weeping or just resting. But I hear that she is, and I quote, just listening. I think it's partially just like her figuring out, like, how do I stand up for myself? How do I reconcile the fact that I don't like how he behaves sometimes and I like how he behaves other times? And like, how do I deal with the fact that like I am socially conditioned to want a boy and I need a date for this dance? And so that's pressure on me. And I actually like him. Like, I
Where
feel like
did she talk about being socially conditioned to want a boy?
I mean, so sometimes there are like kind of things that are happening that aren't explicitly written in the text, but
No,
we
but
can
you're
like
saying
kind
it's
of
about this, but like, where was she? Where
well,
was
I mean,
that?
we watch Jess go, what do I do on a Saturday night because I don't have a date? We watch like people freak out about not having dates. You think it's beyond the realm of possibilities? You think that Gene hasn't
No,
realized
but
that maybe there's
Robert.
pressure to have dates? You think that
Okay,
doesn't
but that
exist?
doesn't mean they're being critical of it.
No, I don't think
Or
she is. I think she's just being impacted by it.
yeah,
And
okay,
so
yeah.
I think she's like trying to reconcile this stuff, and she is really angry, but she also has these other feelings. She's trying to figure out, I mean, she's a cauldron of emotions. And there's this moment where she does stand up to him, and I really like it, where she's like, you've got to listen to me. He says, I know I've behaved like a real creep, writing those letters to the two of you and setting up this stupid competition. But you've got to believe me when I say I wish I'd sent only one letter and that I'd sent it to you. For a moment, all Jean could see was the candlelight sparkling around them and the look of warmth and sincerity in Scott's deep blue eyes. She felt as though she were floating. If violins had started to play behind her at that moment, she wouldn't have been surprised. But then she remembered whose deep blue eyes she was staring into, the eyes of Toad Trost, the two-timer. She smiled sweetly. But you didn't write only one letter, she reminded him gently. Jean, I'm trying to apologize. You wrote two. Jean turned her attention back to the appetizers. What do you recommend? The fried cheese or the shrimp? Like, I think that maybe she is enacting a script, and maybe there is lots of stuff where it's like you're in the duck, but like she is 16 and she is figuring out, how do I deal with these complicated, conflicting emotions? I think it's interesting and worth discussing.
And I think we are discussing it.
I didn't say we
my
weren't.
contribution to this wonderful, robust discussion, which is certainly worth having, is that I absolutely agree.
Oh.
And I wish that it would have ended with her saying, thank you for your apology. Let's be friends.
I agree.
Like in Bruce's story, when that girl Lisa said, thanks for your apology, but based on your behavior, you're not someone I want to date.
Yeah, I agree. I hard agree.
So it's like, yes, she's struggling with those things, and that is interesting. And what's going to be her conclusion? Her conclusion is she will literally tolerate any behavior, and there are no consequences for him, and all he has to do is apologize. And like, to me, his infraction was not matched by the trying to make it better. Like, if it would have been that he just like made a couple of rude comments or something, but like what he did was an extended humiliation ritual, like premeditated, the letters, like.
Well, sorry. So I have a couple of very quick. I don't think the letters were an extended premeditated extended humiliation ritual. The letters, a very common phrase I use all the time, premeditated
You're
extended
like, no, just a regular humiliation ritual.
No, so the letters, I'm sorry.
Literally.
But no, it's
literally, that's what you're saying.
He was worried that he wouldn't be able to get a date, so he sent two letters so he'd have a backup plan. I'm not saying that's okay.
What are you saying? That he did that by accident? It wasn't.
No, I'm not saying that.
It was
I'm not saying he doesn't deserve accountability.
I'm just instantly spontaneously generated them.
So I'm saying that sometimes when we kind of overextend the crimes of a 16-year-old boy, we lose sight of what his actual crimes are. And they are many, and I am not erasing or excusing them. I'm just trying to focus us in on what happened in the book.
I'm also talking about what happened in the book,
Right.
which I see for you as a sort of run-of-the-mill kind of misogynistic humiliation ritual. For me, it was a little bit more of a extended premeditated misogynistic humiliation ritual. For you, was more run-of-the-mill, kind of acceptable, normal day-to-day humiliation ritual. So this is where we depart.
This is where we differ. I do think it's also interesting that in this menu scene, he's pulling the menu away from her face to try and control her gaze again, just like he did in that letter that was part of either a run-of-the-mill or extended humiliation ritual.
Run-of-the-mill humiliation ritual is actually so funny.
I mean, it does.
What?
It does capture like the daily life of being a woman, I would imagine. Just a run-of-the-mill humiliation ritual. Oh, what are these again?
You're like, Listen, he was worried he couldn't get a date, so he did what anyone would do. He sat down, he wrote two identical, insane love letters professing his love, completely identical language to two girls he had literally never spoken to. And then when they said, hey, why'd you write us these letters? He was like, no, we're going to do a contest.
I mean, what was he supposed to do?
He was just trying to get a date. He didn't have a date.
It's like you don't understand. Do you know what it's like to not have a date? Do you know what it's like to be an attractive quarterback of a football team?
Watch one of those television programs for people that don't have dates.
Like a sing-along or something?
Exactly.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my.
All right, are we at the cliffhanger yet? The one we really care about?
Oy vey.
The one that really doesn't come out of nowhere, and definitely it was about people whose names we've heard. And are just dropped in the last page. Like, what?
I don't want to know what you think, because I mean that's making it crueler than I want. But
so you only wanted it just sort of run-of-the-mill level cruel?
Yeah. So Jean does say, I'm not saying I will, but if I do forgive you, Scott, you have to understand that you're on probation. Bringing in kind of, I know you love thinking about prisons and kind of the prison industrial complex. And so I'm sure
one of my favorite industrial complexes, second only to the wedding.
God, you love the wedding industrial complex. If you do one tiny little thing that's arrogant or mean, it's all over between us, and I really will never speak to you again. What are your thoughts on that?
It falls flat to me.
Yeah.
And again, it's overdetermined for me by Love Island, but it's just like we just saw a whole book of him doing such massive bad things that for you to be like, but that's it. It just doesn't land for me, but that's her choice, I guess. And feminism is about choices.
Feminism is famously about choices, and any choice that you make is feminist. So
yeah,
let's move with that. Yeah, as I read it back, it doesn't actually stand up to me either. Because then she kisses him. Like, it's... So we're at the dance. Of course, love is in bloom. Claire's with Danny, this boy that she'd been interested in the whole time. Elizabeth's with Todd. Jess is with Steve Anderson, who's a cute boy at school that it turns out looks a lot like the guy she was dreaming about.
And we're like, is he related to Kirk Anderson? Kirk the jerk? Wasn't that guy's name Anderson?
Kirk the jerk. That sounds right.
Okay.
But don't worry, because while we're kind of having this happy moment, we have this just makes perfect sense. What happens next? Across the dance floor, Sarah Eastbourne danced in the arms of her boyfriend, Senior Bob Hillman. Sarah had been at Sweet Valley High only since the beginning of the school year, but already she was well liked. She had made a best friend in Amanda Hayes, and had begun to date Bob soon after. Happy? Bob asked as he pulled Sarah closer to him. It's written here in my book, UMM. Is that what's written in your book? Do we assume that that's and not
Sorry, I'm just looking for the Yeah, it's UMM.
Yeah, so I guess that's which in my mind would be more like a MMM, not a UMM.
Yeah, I think they're doing what we would both imagine MMM. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird.
That means I don't know. She replied, closing her eyes and leaning her head on his shoulder. It was true. Sarah was happy. And we as readers really care about this because we've heard of Sarah before. Happier than she had ever been now that she and her mother were safely settled in Sweet Valley, far away from the troubles that had caused her family to fall apart. Suddenly, Sarah felt herself shiver lightly as a memory of those terrible times crossed her mind. Are you cold? Bob murmured in her ear. No, I'm fine, Sarah assured him. No matter what, she would not let the past interfere with the present. Not now that she had what she had worked so hard to have. A stable life? I mean, this is just what the fuck is going on? Only one person could disturb her newfound happiness. And that person was far away. Now, listeners, there is no world in which you will guess who that one person is because you've never heard of any of these characters before. So let me tell you, that one person was her twin brother, Tim. We've got more twins. As far as anyone at Sweet Valley High knew, Tim had stayed on the East Coast with their father when the Eastbournes had divorced. And that's all anyone had to know. What? Wait, what? As far as anyone at Sweet Valley High knew, Tim had stayed on the East Coast with their father when the Eastbournes had divorced. And that's all anyone had to know. Sarah, did you kill your twin brother? Did you maim him?
I'm assuming he's like in a halfway house or like something like that. Or
but
like
how
he's
would
like
that disturb her newfound habit? It's like she must have done something to him. There must be something like did she hit him with a car and drive away?
Or maybe he's in I think it's like he's in prison or he's drug issues or something like that.
Yeah, and so to me it's kind of confusing how that would ruin like her love affair with Bob. He would be
because
like,
we know that like people's reputations are contaminated by the actions of their family members, and we know that people love to sort of hide family members that they're embarrassed about and that they think like don't fit in, you know?
Especially twin family members. Okay, well, Sarah pulled a bit away from Bob and smiled up at him. You're great, you know that? Bob smiled back and once again wrapped her in his strong, protective embrace. Can Sarah's hard-won happiness last? Absolutely not, because the next book is called The Long Lost Brother. And it's almost as if they have literally no idea what we want to be reading.
I wonder why Long Lost isn't hyphenated. And I wonder why they're putting us through this. And I have a theory. Mm-hmm. These books that are just very much who cares, that are having several of them in a row, and I feel like maybe there's going to be some more. I mean, luckily we have the Magna edition, it's going to spice it up. But I wonder if it's a sort of test, not a test, but like it's to weed out like the fair weather fans. And it's like, because the hardcore people who can get through these are going to be rewarded, because I'm telling you, Robert, I know I've mentioned it, but I don't remember what happens in the 80s books, but at minimum, I'm sure it's probably a mixed bag. I don't know. But books 93 to 100 is some of the most iconic shit you've ever read in your life. And I'm actually obsessed. So I can't wait for that.
And I don't want you to have to wait. That just feels like kind of a Judeo-Christian, almost Christian worldview about like suffering in this life to get to the promised land. And
I'm not making like a teleological thing like this is somehow a pathway that exists in nature. I'm saying that this was the intention of the publishers. They constructed this. I'm not saying it's a characteristic of the universe. Okay.
Or teleological.
It's not teleological. I don't think you know what teleological is if you're saying that's teleological. I hate when things are teleological. It's one of my most hated things, except for men. Men and teleology are my two things I hate the most.
Would you describe this as an extended or a run-of-the-mill humiliation exercise, what we're doing right now?
The whole podcast, the last 85, 90 episodes, it's extended.
I meant this like 30 seconds.
No, this is run-of-the-mill. Run-of-the-mill wouldn't take it
feel kind of de rigueur.
Yeah. Sure, yeah, pedestrian, yeah.
And if you want to humiliate your friends and loved ones over an extended period, send them a link to podcasts.
And if you want to apply to be on the next season of Love Island, you should probably not do that because it's not worth whatever you're going to get from it. And instead, you should just listen to podcasts and share them with your friends and rate and review them.
Yeah, I think that's true. And if you learned something or even heard something about Love Island that you've never heard before, give us a 5-star rating, you know?
Oh my God, I didn't even explain what I was trying to say. It's so crazy.
I think you did. I do think is there a season out right now, or could we take like kind of a hiatus?
I just finished Australia, thank God, and now I have a break.
Okay. And
Australia was really rough.
Yeah, we know. We can kind of tell.
Guess who won?
Did Sophie win?
No.
Well, I mean, that's the only named person I have.
M, the alt girl.
Oh.
She won with an American guy, then they immediately broke up. And it turns out he'd been on like 10 other dating reality shows.
You've never sounded more Canadian than you did when you just said shows.
I know, I felt weird. It was a slip. I'm going to say it again so I can cut it. 10 other reality dating shows.
Very natural. Shows. I'm just like you. Shows. Okay, well, I love you. This has been 6 hours of my life that I will never get back, but I wouldn't want back, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Okay, well, now I'm going to call you on my phone.
Okay, I love you.
Just to chat. Okay, love you.
Thanks for listening to Sweet Valley Hive.
hosted by Robert Marks and Rebecca Pardo. For more, check out our Instagram at Sweet Valley Hive. Theme song by Yessie and artwork by Elliot Carroll.